Welcome back, everyone, to the Salt and Sauce podcast, looking at Edinburgh's two big football clubs, Hearts and Hibs, as viewed by two best friends supporting rival clubs. Myself, a Hearts fan, and Robert as a Hibs fan. Big week this week. We've got a couple of games to look back at, and mixed fortunes across the games. But then it's all systems go for the first Edinburgh Derby of the season, coming up next weekend. But let's come to that later. Obviously, let's finish on that. Rob, I thought we'd start with you looking at the Hibs games. My phrase that's been bouncing about in my head is a tale of two draws. I imagine one you're a bit gutted about, or certainly annoyed, angry. I don't know. You can tell me. And another that you're pretty chuffed with, actually. So why don't you take us start with the Falkirk one first? Obviously, 2-2 on Tuesday night.
Yeah, so as I said, we were viewing Falkirk as a must-win, really, with the points that we've dropped to poorer teams in the league, so to speak. In saying that, a lot of those draws, some of them we were lucky to get a draw in, and other ones we've kind of thrown away ourselves. And Tuesday it was a tale of obviously a draw, but it was a tale of two halves as well.
Yeah.
Um, where to even start with it? So we started off reasonably well. The tempo was good. Players looked up for it. Quite liked Chiwa being brought back in. We had Nicky Cadden. We had Boyle Bowie up front. A real attacking team, really. And I thought, right, looks like we're going to go for it here. Um, we got a penalty. I think it was a penalty. He's hands out in an unnatural position, and it hits his hand. I know a lot of people were saying close proximity, but if you look at it, his hand is in an unnatural position, and for me, it's a pen.
My disagreement is that if the ball's booted at your face, that is a natural position. I think it's pretty soft. I get why it's not overturned once it's given, um, but I'd be very annoyed if it was given against us. Personally, and I don't know what I would say if that was Hearts at Falkirk and we get that penalty. Maybe I'd see it differently, but yeah, I thought it was a bit harsh.
I just think if you've got your hand in that position and it hits your hand, then you know,
Oh
by
no, I get the argument for it, but anyway, it's given and Boyle takes it.
Boyle takes it, good pen, pressure pen, and scores it. And that felt like a big moment because for so many games this season, we've not scored the first goal.
Yeah,
The other team has got scored the first goal, and then we have to chase the game then. So it felt like a big moment, felt like it calmed us down. We started playing really well then, everyone wanting on the ball, lots of touches. And then we get our second goal then, which it's actually a really nice finish. It's a nice ball played in. McGrath, we've not seen enough of this from him.
yeah.
Would be my one criticism of him that we know he's got that in his locker. We know on his day
Mhm.
he can be a match winner and he's got quality. So when the ball was played into him, really nice turn. He kind of fainted, and then a really nice finish, which the keeper may as well not have been there because it was right in the corner and just took everyone by surprise. So 2-0 up, you're thinking brilliant going into half time, and then the sucker punch comes. We concede again. I think it's either our ninth or 10th goal,
Yeah.
either just before half time in that period in the 40th to 45th minute. I, and Gray himself can't give an explanation. He's just saying, I don't know what's going on. You're 2-0
Yeah.
up, or you're cruising, and then they get the ball down. We don't stop the cross. I think it's Nicky Cadden doesn't do enough to stop the cross. But when the ball comes in, where on earth are centre halves to try and intercept that ball? They're nowhere. So the ball just flashes right across, and the Falkirk player is quickest to react, and it's 2-1 then, which completely changes the dynamic of the game.
Yeah. Do you know what gets me even? I was watching it probably not as intently as Hibs fans would have been watching it, but I had it on the telly, and I thought you were worthy of your lead. probably 2-0 was actually maybe fair, or certainly approaching fair. And I just thought if you go in at halftime 2-0 away from home in any league game, you're delighted. You're genuinely delighted,
Yeah.
even if it's with all due respect, Falkirk. And so surely at that point, you just get your centre halves in tight, get your full backs pin back, block any crosses, just see it out to halftime. Because as a Hibs fan, Robert, 2-0 at halftime, you're buzzing.
Yeah. And even before that, I've missed out the Boyle one-on-one as well. Should be
Yeah, yeah.
finishing that as well. And I think there was another chance as well, which I can't quite recall. But 2-0 did not flatter us at all at halftime. But we let them back into the game 2-1. Again, I'm still thinking, well, we're this much on top still. I know it's a sucker punch. I know we have let them back in the game, but it didn't feel like they were in the game at all. So I wasn't too worried. It wasn't like I was like, oh, we're lucky to be 2-1 up and, worried about the second half. I wasn't too worried. I thought things carry on like this. We'll win 3-1, even 4-1, and just pick them off. Second half comes round again, we just don't turn up. It's very similar to the Ibrox, the Rangers game, sorry, in the second half. When the game's there to go and be won and continue playing the way you're playing, we just didn't. We couldn't pass it. We couldn't keep hold of the ball. We're just, stupid touches, giving the ball away, stupid fouls, and just encouraging them onto us really. And to be fair to Falkirk, they played really well in that second half as well. Like some credit needs to go to them as well because they did go for it and they
Yeah,
left
the
themselves open at times as well.
thing is, they can play a bit of football, and if you let them do that and you keep giving them the ball back as Hibs were doing, it was also, I thought, similar to the Kilmarnock game
Yeah,
in the way that you just, and obviously it's easy for me to talk about it, but like Hibs were really, really bad in that second half. Is
yeah.
It's the only way I can look at it,
Yeah.
regardless of who I support. It was just a poor performance, and it was actually to the point where probably by the end of the 90 minutes, you're saying Falkirk earned their draw.
Absolutely. And even when it got to 2-2, they looked them
Yeah.
more likely to go and win it, which is
Yeah.
shocking really from a position of strength of 2-0 up on the 41st minute or whenever it was. But yeah, their second goal I think was a cross into the box, free header.
I
No
know.
one, no near the guy. Don't get me wrong, it's the Henderson boy. It's a
Yeah.
fantastic header, and he was actually brilliant all night. To be fair, attacking and defensively, but no one near him for the ball. And it's a great header. And just from then on, again, most of the second half, we just showed very little. So I was very, very annoyed, very frustrated.
I saw a few Hibs fans online talking about how, and I think they were quite maybe frustrated, so they wanted to stick the boot in a bit more, saying that Falkirk deserved to win in the end, which I thought it reminds me. I remember saying this to you about the Derby last season, when sometimes when a team plays better in the second half, even if the other team are better in the first half, everyone thinks they deserve to win. But actually, both teams are on top for as much as they're on top. It's just that it's the more recent team to do it. Not that I thought Hearts deserved anything from the Derby last season, but that's what I mean. Falkirk having the better the second half, everyone thinks, well, they deserve to win because they were on top at the end. But I know what you mean. They looked more likely to score again, but if they'd won, that would have been a bit harsh on Hibs overall.
Possibly, but I would caveat that by saying that Falkirk played better in the first half than Hibs did in the second.
Probably true. Yeah, probably true.
So that's where I'm coming at it from as well. We as I said, 2 or even 3-0 wouldn't have flattered us in that first half, but we did not turn up at all in that second half. So look, we take the point, but it wasn't good enough. It's the same errors, the same poor subs from Gray in that game as well. Nothing we did in that second half changed the flow of the game at all. That's a responsibility on the players, and it's also obviously down to tactics as well. So it's a kind of two-pronged thing. It was just someone put up lack of leaders on the park, and that summed it up really. There was no one in a Hibs shirt grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck and going, you know what, we're going to actually win this game. We're not going to draw it. we're going to actually go for it. We're going to put our foot on the ball. We're going to make things happen. There was none of that. So I just turned off the game really at full time. I didn't want to hear anything about it really, to be honest. Wasn't interested in what anyone had to say, and it was that kind of, like someone scores a last minute goal on FIFA. You're just like, right, switching it off.
You
That's it.
you rage quit a real life game?
Rage quit. But I watched it to the end because you just never know.
No,
But
no.
it was very, very disappointing. Very disappointing.
Now I was I forget the exact stats, but I think Hibs. There was a couple of things I was looking at that Hibs have got like something like we'll talk about the Celtic game in a minute. I think that's now something like 1 win in 11. Um, s- Still, obviously, I know your 2 games are away from home, but the home form is has been poor. If I'm being blunt,
Yeah.
even things like Bowie has got like 1 goal in 8 or something now, and this is a guy who we were praising a lot. Um, Forgive me if those numbers are slightly wrong, but the general theme of those stats, there must be a couple of things concerning you.
Yeah, and it's not just Bowie. Boyle's not been great. Our big players just aren't turning up really, in the way that they were last season.
Yeah,
Rocky Bashiri, he's been a rock, and don't get me wrong, he's had some good performances. I would say in halves this season.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's just not been consistent. Like he was a standout player during that run last season because he was giving us 90 minutes of consistency. I just don't see our big players are not turning up. And that's tough when we're trying to bed in new players to the system and to the team as well. Um, McGrath, I know he scored that goal. Apart
But
from that,
his overall contribution so far is probably slightly below what you're looking for.
it is. Nicky Cadden's a bit off form. He'll always have dynamite in that left foot, and he's a guy I would always play for him because of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that delivery. But again, he's been a bit off form. We brought in Salinger, who looks good. He looks solid. As we'll get on to the Celtic game in a minute. I would have probably brought Hanley in earlier if I'm being critical of Gray during this run. I think he's experienced, and I just think he's a guy that would just do anything to stop a goal. He will throw himself at it, and when you're playing poorly and you're giving chances up, he's the type of guy you need.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'd agree with that. You mentioned the Celtic game there. We're perhaps both, maybe not being harsh, but we're both being a bit negative about Hibs right now. Certainly a positive result, positive performance. A 0-0, I mean, anything away at
Yeah.
Celtic Park, anything at all is a positive result. But I only caught the highlights, obviously. Now, the highlights of a 0-0 game is
Mm.
it's tough to get an idea of the game, but I presume you watched the game?
Yeah, watch the whole game. I thought it was a brilliant, brilliant defensive performance, and I did not think I'd be saying that after the games that we have watched. And this is where I'm going to flip it and actually give credit to Gray and credit to the players, because when you're playing against a team and a bench, there are players even that didn't get on the bench that are just of like quality that Hibs could only kind of dream of. You need to do something to disrupt it. And I thought we did that. It wasn't a pretty performance. We didn't keep the ball well, but what we did do is we defended for our lives, and that's what you have to do. Got a bit of luck. Iheanacho should score. There was, I think, a handball that could have gone either way. I think was it Cadden he had like his arm out here.
Yeah,
So
I only saw it once and I couldn't make a full judgment on it. But
yeah, but it
as
could
I
have it could have
mentioned
gone the other way.
as I mentioned with the game at Ibrox, these things do
Yeah,
happen.
so that could have happened. I
The
thought,
offside goal,
hmm?
the offside goal with
The
Iheanacho.
offside goal. Yeah, I
It
thought
is offside, but it's tight.
we carved out one huge chance, which was the O'Hora chance, and that was just a case of it falling to the wrong person at the wrong time, really. And it was a bad miss, but he's a centre half, so we can forgive that. But I just thought we stuck to the game plan. We kept it tight. We did park the bus. I don't think make any bones about that. We were there to defend and try and get ourselves a point. And if we could get something on the counter, then great. But I think we set out our stall early, and the players stayed really disciplined because Celtic were throwing literally the kitchen sink at us. They brought on subs. They were trying to move us out of position. I just saw the keeper in particular had a great game. He looked steady, looked solid, made some really good saves. A couple of camera saves, but don't mind that. But I thought our man of the match was Grant Hanley. He was absolutely outstanding. He was a colossus at the back for us. He was winning his headers, winning his physical battles, and also a mention to Bowie as well. He occupied the centre halves, and sometimes in games you need your centre forward to do that. You need him to, win those free kicks and get his body in the way, and his hold up play was good. I don't mind that. And what also impressed me was we did a bit of the dark arts. Couple of players going down. We're taking our time. Why are we rushing it? Why are we just punting the ball up to give it back? So we took our time with throw-ins. I don't mind that. You're playing against a better team. Teams do it against us when they're ahead. So we displayed some experience that way, and it was an ugly draw, but it was a really, really good draw.
But I think you needed that because if you're going into the derby next week off of well, all the games we've spoken about before, then the Falkirk game, and then uh, regardless of whether it's Celtic away, another defeat, it's it's bad. It's not the way you want to be going into a derby, especially as we'll come on to in a second with how Hearts have been doing.
Yeah,
And it's at Tynecastle. So I think there's something about the resilience of that game that just completely changes the mindset for for all of Hibs, but really, the players and the manager
yeah,
going into that game, and that could be huge.
yeah, absolutely. And as I said, I did not see us getting anything. I think I said on the pod, I didn't see in a million years how we were going to.
Mm.
After the Falkirk game, I was like, this
Yeah.
is going to be a horror show when you look at Celtic's team. But again, we just stopped them. We stopped them playing in terms of like Celtic played well. All the Celtic fans are saying, and Rodgers said it himself. He said, "I can't fault us. Like we
Yeah,
played
yeah, yeah.
well. They created chances, but you need to put them away." And we did ride our luck. But we also, as I said, we defended really, really well. Guys like Iredale, who haven't been great for us this season, brilliant last season. He put in a brilliant performance, and I just thought Hanley being there, it was like a brick wall back there, and he just was not going to allow us to concede. And that is a mentality that you need to go into these big games.
And as you say, after that Falkirk game, you're worried that you're going to Celtic and getting a bit of a doing. It could be a thumping like 5-1, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah.
A big score like that.
Mhm. Or
That'd
60, yeah.
that'd be embarrassing, that one. Anyway, listen, we'll get on to Derby results or Derby predictions in a minute. I'll quickly talk about Hearts.
Yeah,
Yesterday, I was at the game with our mate Dave from school. And it was just great. We were really good. You'd expect it if you're at home and you're against Falkirk. That's what we'd expect. You and I both said it'll be 3 or 4 nil to Hearts. It was three. Could have easily been a lot more. I genuinely, Dave said to me at one point, who would you put down as man of the match? And honestly, my first thought was their keeper. He made some really good saves. Great save from Finlay, had a long shot right at the start. That was before we'd scored any of the goals. He made a great save from Kazaridis, who was coming in at the back post when it was still 1-0. The corner that Halkett scores from, that comes from Shankland with a left foot shot that he's going the other way and he jumps back and tips it around the post. He honestly he had a great game and he's not at fault for any of the goals or anything like that. Um, so I'm not saying Scott Bain should have actually been man of the match, but that just told me what that score could have been. But I thought all the goals were brilliant as well. Kizaridis was brilliant yesterday. He's so direct. It's so nice to have. We've not really had it at Hearts for a while. A player that just drives, gets the ball, drives. He can go one way, he can go the other. He's been chipping in with goals and assists as well, particularly when he plays from the start. The first goal, I take it you've seen it, is
yeah.
an absolute screamer. It really is brilliant. rides a couple of challenges, a little bit of luck on the first challenge, rides a second challenge well, and then just leathers it top bin. It's a goal of the season contender, without question. Second goal, Shankland. It's a bit funny. Shankland, Harry Milne, who was playing on the right wing, which is crazy, but he's a good solid player there. He put a ball in, and Shankland wasn't happy with it. And don't get me wrong, it was nothing serious, but they were having a wee bit back and forward, and then that was it. And literally 20 seconds later, Shankland got the ball, obviously a bit frustrated, I think, from that altercation, and flattens their midfielder fairly, just shoulder to shoulder, and then just winds up and leathers it as hard as he can. And it's whilst it's not right in the corner, the power on it and the fact he takes it reasonably early, it's another great goal, and it's 2-0 at half time. And like I say, it could have been more. We get the goal early-ish in the second half. Um, like I say, it's Kazaridis. No, sorry, Shankland's shot that gets tipped around the post. Kazaridis takes the corner. Halkett with a really clever header. Really, you can really see him directing it into the far top corner. And great to see Halkett get a goal. He's been great this season, and he's fit and he's staying fit. And I've said it a few times. Craig Halkett not injured and getting a run of games, I genuinely think is as good as any centre half in the league. Maybe bar one or two exceptions. He is so good. So great to see him get a goal. And then we took our foot off the gas a little bit because the game was won. Um, I'm not bothered about that. I really don't mind it. It was 3-0. We weren't really in any danger of conceding a goal. Sholov made a couple of saves that were pretty routine, but we challenged Bain a lot more even after we took our foot off the gas than they did to us. Not really much more to say on the game. There was two things though that I wanted to say just on the wider aspects of things. I spoke last season about little bits of luck, and one of the things that's been nice for us so far this season, albeit it's early, is players with injury records like Kingsley, Halkett, Beningame. They're all fit. They're all getting a run of games, and they're all good players. And as you know, any player needs consistent games to be at their best, no matter how good they are. Um, and it's been so much better playing with a back four. I said it a few times. I wasn't happy with the three and the wing backs. I don't think it suits the players that we've got. Certainly not at the minute. I think Milne's good on the left as a wing back potentially, but he can be a bit isolated then. But we don't have a right wing back right now. Borchgrevnik might be that, but he's coming back from injury, and I don't know how reliable he is injury wise, because I think that's actually been two separate injuries since he got here, and we actually don't really know how good he is yet because he's not played much. So back four for me right now is absolutely fine, and I'd love to stick with that basically. So 3-0, lovely victory. You've done us a big favour at Celtic Park. That was a great result for us. So very grateful for that. And it leaves us top of the league. Most goals scored, best goal difference, most points. Just, I mean, I'm sure even as a Hibs fan, you must say you've got to say fair dues to Hearts for that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not much else I can say really apart from that Hearts have had a very impressive start to the season. I think talk of title challenging might be a bit premature just because
Yeah,
we're so early in the season, and I just think there will come a time where you will go through a sticky patch, and I think the likes of Rangers and Celtic will probably pull away at that time. But if you're looking at it and saying have Hearts got a chance with no European football of splitting the old firm, you'd have to say at this point of the season, absolutely, they do.
yeah.
It's just whether you can keep that consistency going. I think if you're still kind of first or second come the first game of Celtic, for example, I think that could be a big kind of decider on how things play out. And I don't mean that just as a one-off result. I mean that in terms of belief, in terms of the squad truly believing that you can do it.
I think from memory, I actually think mathematically we will be first or second when we play them, no matter what.
Oh,
Which
will
is
you? Right.
just because, that's because we've got Kilmarnock, and I just think the gap is so big at the minute because everyone keeps drawing with each other. I don't think anyone can catch us, obviously apart from Celtic. And regardless of whether that's true or not,
Yeah.
the fact is I agree with you. Title challenge. I would even say wait till January before you're really looking
Yeah,
at.
yeah,
But the fact is we've got the points on the board, and
yep,
at any stage of the season, if you're getting 16 points from 6 games, that's great. That's
absolutely.
brilliant. So points are on the board. We're delighted with that, and it gives you something to build from and to go from there. Which means this weekend you've got a great opportunity to end our unbeaten run, which stretches back to May, in terms of 90-minute games, that is. Um, Kickstart your season a little bit because fair to say you're not at full marks this season if you were grading your performance, so probably quite a bit from that. Hearts v Hibs at Tynecastle. What are your initial feelings right now? What's your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts, if I'm being honest, is this game has come at a reasonably a reasonably bad time for Hibs because we've not been playing well. We have been defensively poor. Our big
Hmm.
players are not performing the way that they were last season. There, I don't see the same confidence kind of coursing through the team when we're playing that I did last season. As I said before the last derby, I was confident. I was confident that we would compete and that we would get a result. I don't have that same confidence this season because of obvious, as I said, the errors, the way the players are playing. I think that when Bowie gets tired, I don't think we've got a good replacement. Whereas last season we had Gale, we had Kukurevich, we could call upon both who did an important job for us. I think the balance of the midfield still isn't quite right, and I still think there's too many players just off form, ideally for this derby. That being said, as you pointed out yourself, this could be a turning point for Hibs and Hearts, whatever way you look at it. But for from a Hibs point of view, if we were to win at Tynecastle, it would be a huge statement in terms of, ending Hearts' run, and it would kickstart, hopefully, some momentum for us going into the international break again, and just kind of put to bed some of the fears that a lot of Hibs fans have about the team and about, whether we're this or that. On the back of a Celtic draw, a win away to Tynecastle would be a huge statement. And don't get me wrong, look, I look at our team and if we show up and play 100%, we're absolutely capable of it. But for me, I would have preferred this game probably a few more weeks' time.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying there. Certainly from a Hibs point of view, it's a funny one to look at. I believe if you were looking at if you took away the names of the teams and just said this is how Team A is done, they're top of the league, 506, da 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 da. This is the other team, quite a few draws, da 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 da. You'd be like, oh well, and the Team A is at home. You'd be like, well, it's a no-brainer. But because it's a derby, and because yeah, I'd agree with you, Hibs are playing below what they're capable of. I don't think you're the sort of team that draws with Falkirk, Kilmarnock, Dundee United, but you're only as good as your results say you
Yep.
are. So
Yep.
there's that argument. But no, I think on average you'd be expecting them to be doing better than that. So it's just the fact it's a derby that brings any sort of doubt into your mind when you're the favourites going into it as Hearts are. I looked at the odds and it's interesting just because they look at them more objectively and just
Mm,
their algorithms and that, and they've got Hearts odds on favourite and Hibs are nearly 3-1.
okay.
It's given last season and how everything went, and given the players Hibs have got, it's quite a big gap. Those
It
odds.
is, but again, I don't really look into the odds
Oh,
too much because, as we said ourselves, anything can happen. The red cards, it could be, a dodgy VAR decision that swings the game. If Hibs score first, all these things could play into it. Hearts are rightly favourites, and I'm certainly
yeah,
not going to
yeah.
come on here and say they're not. And I think if most Hibs fans were asked, do you expect Hearts to win at the weekend? They'd say yes if they were being honest, because Hearts are flying, they're full of confidence. You've a system that works, you're scoring lots of goals, defensively pretty good. Whereas Hibs are scoring, but we're not defending well. And as I said before, we that draw against Celtic aside, we still look like we've got a bit of a soft centre, and we're not putting together like patterns of play in terms of like from defense to from the goalkeeper to defense to midfield to attack. I just don't see the same link up with players that I was last season for kind of sustained periods. So yeah, we're
But
getting goals because we've got good attacking players and they can make stuff happen, but I'm just not seeing kind of a connection with the team yet, unfortunately. So
well, with all that in mind, and let's take red cards and dodgy VAR decisions out of it just now. With that in mind, the fact that Hibs are stuttering, I think it's fair to say.
yeah,
How might they win at Tynecastle? What do you think would need to happen?
we would need to defend like we did on Sunday,
Yeah.
and we would need to attack like we did against Belgrade.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well. Oh well. It sounds like the result takes care of itself.
No, and look, in all honesty, Hearts could have an off day, and our attack and play could just click, and we could just get lucky defensively, and we could walk out there with a 1-0, 2-1. And that could happen. That we've enough player attacking talent on the pitch to do that. If we are going to win and if we're getting into tactics, I'd be looking at now. I don't know if he's going to start. I don't think he will because of that Celtic result. But we'd be looking at the likes of Nicky Cadden. I think McGrath might be injured, so we'd be looking at players like Chiwa. We'd be looking at Boyle, Bowie. Boyle making stuff happen. He's got a very good Derby record, very experienced player in these big games. We'd be looking at him making something. We'd be looking at Bowie kind of occupying the centre halves, holding the ball up, allowing our attacking players to get on the ball, and then we'd be looking to keep it tight when we're under pressure. We'd have to keep the ball better than I'd say that we've done for 90% of the season. We can't just be giving it back to Hearts, who will be right up for it. They'll be high pressing us, full of confidence. We need to be brave on the ball. And I think if we show that bravery and try and just calm down a bit when we get a bit of possession, but feel our way into the game, then that would be the way that we would get a win at Tynecastle.
Yeah, it seems fair. I didn't want to. It's going to sound really arrogant, but I do think the approach has to be similar to what you did at Celtic Park. Obviously, I'm not saying we're as good as Celtic, but what I mean is you're definitely up against it in terms of form, home and away, obviously, and it's this idea of not not actually trying to control the game in
Mm,
terms of possession.
mm,
Probably what's the word I'm looking for? Giving the other team possession there, surrendering possession rather, and when you get the ball, similar to what we did at Ibrox, move it up quickly, get Bowie to ruffle some feathers, get Boyle to run beyond them, and nick something that way. And whilst I know some people look at that as sort of, I don't know if you call it smash and grab or whatever, for me it's exactly what we did at Ibrox, and it was
mm,
rightly praised because it was a good performance. And although we didn't control possession, I do feel like we controlled the game because we were ultimately in control, I felt for most of the game, if not all of the game. And there's obviously, Hibs are capable of doing that, and I think that's why Saturday against Celtic was actually a really big result for you to show that actually Hibs can just have one of these games where they're a bit minging, sit in a bit of resilience, a bit of steel, and not ultimately not doing anything stupid. Which, let's be honest, they have been capable of this.
mm, mm. And what I would say is the worst possible thing we can do, and it's obviously an obvious thing. The worst possible thing we can do is obviously give Hearts an early lead
Yeah,
because a
confident.
team high in confidence going 1-0 up, we then have to come out of our of our shape. I think we will probably set up defensively. I think you're probably right. It will be a similar setup, but Gray will expect us to be better on the ball and carry a more attacking threat because, as we said, Hearts aren't as good as Celtic. The teams are more evenly matched than us playing Celtic. So I, I would, if you were asking me now, obviously I'd love to win. I think it can happen. It's not without the
Oh
realm
no,
of possibility. Would I take a draw now? Absolutely.
would you?
Yeah,
I was just about to ask that if
yeah.
you go for a 0-0 or a 1-1.
No, I take a draw. I take a draw. I think away to Celtic, away to Hearts, you get 2 points. I think that's pretty good, and I think it would give us something to build upon. That two of the hardest venues we've managed to, get something from them
Yeah,
when a lot
yeah.
of people wouldn't expect us to. So I think in terms of confidence and going forward, a point would be a better result for Hibs than it would be for Hearts.
Given where you are now,
Yep.
I get your, I get your logic there. No, absolutely, and yeah, no, it's almost it's to the point now where I'm a little bit worried of for Hearts because we're flying so high, because we're at home, because it's a big game like a derby, because Hibs have been stuttering. Or it's not so much the well, I suppose there is an expectation to win, but also just I just worry about how disappointing it may be to not win, even if it is a draw. How much that'd be like, I'm just feeling a bit flat. I agree about the early goal thing. I know it's a stupid thing to say that in terms of a goal helps, of
Mm,
course, but the early goal in particular, like you say, it would draw Hibs out if they were sitting in, but also
mm,
Tiny would be rocking just because they're
mm,
well up for it, the fans. It'll be great as well because you're the only team that gets the full stand behind the goal, and away fans are always in good song no matter the form book. Um, the one thing that gives me a little bit of confidence, and Graydon might need to, well, I'm sure he will be thinking about this, is we have been good at pressing teams high
mm,
and putting them under pressure. And if Hibs are going to try and play it from the back, they need to see how they do that. The other thing we need to be aware of is thinking, okay, well, Hibs don't do that, and they try and get it to Bowie a bit earlier. He is good at holding it up. My hope would be Halkett and Finlay, two good defenders. Um, Not to say that Bowie can't cause them problems, but it's better than some of the centre halves we've had over the years dealing with somebody like Bowie. So
mm,
I'd be okay with that. And then someone like Devlin just sweeping in front to take anything off his toes, whilst Halkett just stands and stops him from turning. You'd hope that nullifies Bowie, but of course that's about tactics. It's about what both managers decide to do, and
mm.
even if you do decide to do that, the players need to do it well if they're
Yeah.
going to do it. So there's obviously lots of things at play there, but maybe a fairly obvious answer. But yeah, if you offered me a draw now, no,
Mm,
oh, we,
mm.
I want to win that game and really believe that we can. And like I say, if it was any other team that had the same record as Hibs right now, I would be expecting to do so. And it's just the derby that brings the element of surprise.
Yeah, and how often have we seen it over the years that the team that's flying high go into a derby and all of a sudden it's a lot tighter and the other team nicks it, or all of a sudden Hibs put in their best display of the season, or Hearts turn up when, like, what I mean, they're near the bottom of the league or whatever. It happens. The derbies brings nerves. It brings obviously brilliant atmosphere. I still think the Edinburgh Derby is the best derby in Scotland. I think we've said that before. I just think that it can make players make mistakes that they wouldn't usually make. So that forward pass that you would usually do against, say, Hibs Falkirk or Hearts Falkirk, you're passing it back the way.
Yeah, you're
I mean,
nervous.
it's things like that, and then that just adds what what we need to do is try and keep that crowd quiet and not give them anything to feed upon in terms of. I
Fast
think if
start.
the Hearts players and the Hearts fans get the impression that Hibs aren't up for this, it could be a really long day for us. Whereas if we start on the front foot, I don't want us to be too defensive because I just think it's asking for trouble. You can get away with it on a one-off game, but I do think if you set up like that, more often than not, the other team are going to find a way to score.
There's a difference between being defensive though and sitting in and picking your moments. They're for me
Yeah,
are two different things. And it's the difference between, say, a Craig Levein defensive performance and what we did at Ibrox.
yeah,
Um, but one thing that was going through my mind when you were talking there was you're right. It's I think from a Hibs point of view, the early goal thing is fairly obvious. But even something like an early booking, an early chance for
Mm,
Hearts, an
mm,
early booking for Hibs, an early shank out the park from the keeper,
mm,
and the
mm.
fans will suddenly be right
Yeah,
on. And then
yeah,
suddenly, does that make you a bit nervous? And
yeah,
Bashi's getting the ball at the back. Because the fans are getting on at him. Maybe even something like that could have a big impact on the game.
yeah,
So Hibs need to just, I would suggest, kill the game in the first 5 minutes in terms of take a bit longer to take your throw-ins, keep the ball when you can, slow it down. Ball goes out for a goal kick, take it on the other side. All these sorts of things, the dark arts things.
yeah,
Not so much time wasting at that point. It's just stopping the momentum for
yeah.
building.
Exactly,
Once
exactly.
they got momentum early doors, I think they could go on and win it.
Yeah.
Not massively comfortably, but it would be a victory for Hearts, I would think.
What I do think is that we will create chances, and what we've been guilty of. I know we've scored. I think we've outscored Celtic in the league, which is incredible to think. But we will create chances with the players we have. I've no doubt about it. We will create chances. We have to take them because there might only be one or two chances in this game for Hibs, and we just have to take them. You're through one on one, or you're in front of goal. You just have to put it away, and that's where cool heads and experience needs to come in as well.
Right, Rob, the moment of truth. Head, heart, what's the score going to be?
Okay, my head says a 2-0 Hearts win,
Right, wow.
and that's based upon the form of both teams, really. And I know form goes out the window on Derby Day. It does to an extent, but when I've seen Hearts play, they're playing with a confidence that I don't see that Hibs are, and I just think if we do go 1-0 down in the game, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for us to get back into it. The Hibs of last year, if we were to go 1-0 down, I'd be saying, never say die attitude. We'll get ourselves back in the game. I'm confident we can still get a draw. I don't think we've quite found that right balance yet. And I think the way Hearts are playing, the way they're scoring, um, compared to Hibs, my head would say, if I was, an unbiased football fan, which I'm not, I would say I would say a 2-0 Hearts win would be probably your best bet.
What you're saying, you're biased sometimes.
Not at all.
Right, my head is saying, um, my head, do you know what? It's probably the same. It's probably saying a 2-0 Hearts win. And I'm just looking at it as, again, if it's Team A v Team B, we've made some great signings that have settled a lot quicker than the Hibs signings have. Again, I think that's a fair comment without being biased.
Yeah,
Mm, The form, as you say, the home advantage. It wouldn't even surprise me if we did get an early goal that it might even be 3-0 at that point because I think Hibs coming out, getting nervous, Hearts getting that momentum. I think it could almost escalate from there.
yeah.
It just becomes far less tight than it is going into the game. But I'll stick with a 2-0 head prediction. And I'll jump in now though, and because you went first in the last one, I'll say my heart prediction. I am going to say this. There's an element of the start of the Burley era at Hearts, and we had a couple of really good results against Hibs, Scatchel, Hartley, and all that. Even early in the season, and one of the results that sticks in my mind, and it was such a great day at Tiny. It was brilliant. Was a 4-0 win. So my heart is going to root for something like that, just because of the start we've had.
Mm,
Um, just because the players we've got, you take out Scatchel and you put in Braga, for example. My heart's going to get carried away and say 4-0.
okay.
That's the heart. The heart's stupid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wait till you hear my heart. Um, my heart is saying that we're going to go to Tynecastle. We're going to put in our best performance of the season. We're going to keep the crowd quiet. We're going to score early, a Boyle goal, and then we're going to soak up pressure, defend like we did against Celtic, and then when Hearts are going for it because of the pressure from their fans to get back in the game, we're going to pick them off on the counter on the second half, and we're going to win the game 2-0 comfortably.
That's That is fighting words there. You've got a dodgy heart, I think. That's the problem with that. No, listen, do you know what? There's a world where that quite
Yeah.
conceivably happens. Of course there is. I actually thought, because I know what you're like. I thought you were just going to see a minging 1-0, not even a 2-0. The Heart Boys disgusting 1-0 victory.
I'd take that as well, happily.
And it'll be the sort of 1-0, and you would love this if you didn't even have a shot on target. It's like an own
Okay.
goal or a deflection,
Backs
and
to the wall.
you win 1-0 without even getting a shot on target. You would love that.
Oh, I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it.
Okay, all right, fair enough, fair enough. So you're saying head 2-0 Hearts, this is going to be confusing. Head 2-0 to Hearts. Your heart says 2-0 to Hibs.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 2-0 to Hearts and 4-0 to Hearts.
Okay.
My head and my heart there. One thing I was going to challenge you on, Bob. Do you fancy a charity bet, something for the podcast here? If Hearts win, I'll donate £5 to a charity you're choosing,
Yep.
or higher if you want. If Hibs win, no, sorry, if Hearts win, you donate £5 to a charity of my choosing, and vice versa. If Hibs win, and if it's a draw, we can either both donate or we can just bump the charities altogether. We'll
If
both.
it if
We'll
it
both
if it's a draw, then that's like a Hibs win.
No,
So
do you know what? If it's a nah, no way. If it's a draw, it rolls over to the next derby.
okay, okay. I think we can
So,
stretch to 10. I think we can stretch to 10.
£10 each way.
Yeah.
Hibs win, I'll donate to your charity, and vice versa. A draw, yeah, it rolls over to
Okay.
20 for the next derby. I like that.
Okay.
Well, we'll find out where that's going next week. I like that though, a bit of jeopardy on it. And final question from me, and this the viewers might like this. We're actually going to be watching the derby together on. This is rotten from you, by the way. We've got your twin boy's first birthday, which to have that on Derby Day is a shocker, and their christening. So we'll be watching that together on the iPad. If Hearts go 2-0 up, are you going to keep the iPad on till the end of the game?
Nah, I'll be walking away. A
I,
family.
you'll leave it with me.
I'll leave it with you, yeah, but a family to talk to, so I'll be gone.
Yeah, do a bit of networking. All right,
But
all right.
it's going to be funny. There's just going to be a table because like there's quite a few Hibs and Hearts fans going. There's just going to be a table with like an iPad,
Friday round.
giant iPad, all crowded around for a couple hours. But
It's gonna be
no,
such
look,
a cliche.
I'm looking forward to it. And obviously, if Hibs do score and win, then you know what I mean.
Thank
We'll
God,
get
I'm,
it
I'm
off
flying.
each other.
I'm flying back on a Saturday night. Thank God. So I think that's good either way. Actually, that I'm flying back fairly early.
Yeah,
That'll be ideal. Right, Rob. Well, obviously looking forward to seeing you at the weekend off camera, but I will catch you on camera. We'll maybe give it a couple of days to settle, but we'll get it recorded at some point.
the post derby.
Post Derby review.
Oh, oh.
All right, everyone.